Hi, this is Cheryl Gallant, your Conservative Member of Parliament for the wood stove warming riding of Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembroke, Algonquin, Renfrew-Pembroke. Leftists love a registry. It makes them feel powerful. The biggest problem for central planners is that they lack the data to make good decisions. Now, it's been known since the 1930s that the data central planners need is destroyed by the act of central planning. But that hasn't stopped them from trying. The latest example comes from Canada's capital of leftist lunacy. Vancouver's regional government has passed a fireplace and wood stove registry. As of September 15th, Vancouver area residents who want to use their fireplace or wood stove must register with the regional government and commit to what the bureaucrats call best wood burning practices. If you don't plan on using your fireplace, you don't have to register. But if you use it and haven't registered, it's a $10,000 fine. In order to comply with the new registry, you must keep all receipts for fire logs for up to 2 years. Now, we all know how progressives pride themselves on being more compassionate towards those who are experiencing low income, and this bylaw is a wonderful example of socialist compassion. The bylaw says that anyone experiencing low income is exempt from having to register. So naturally, a person might ask, do I qualify as low income? A first thought might be to go to the regional government's website, if you can afford a computer and internet service, and check the Fireplace Registry page with its lengthy question and answer section, but they wouldn't find the answer there. So they could turn to the actual bylaw to see how it defines low income. Here's their definition of low-income households. Quote, low-income household means a residence that has a residential wood-burning appliance and whose residents qualify for the income criteria set forth in subparagraphs A or B of the definition of a low-income household, as that term is defined in the Demand Side Measures Regulation, BC Regulation 326/2008, made pursuant to the Utilities Commission Act, end quote. Can't you just feel the progressive compassion? Now, a person experiencing low income must find the Demand Side Measures Regulations and find out how they define low income. If they can do that, here's what they find. Quote, low-income household means a household whose residents receive service from the public utility and the residents have, in a taxation year, before tax annual household income equal to or less than the low-income cutoff established by Statistics Canada for that year for households of that size, multiplied by 1.6, end quote. Now, at this point, you might expect a person experiencing low income to go through the computer they can't afford out a window in frustration. But if they did persevere to find Stats Canada's low income cutoff table, they would find a chart showing the low income cutoff for different size households in different types of communities. For those in the Vancouver area, a single person household earning less than $30,526 is considered low income by Statistics Canada. But remember, the unrelated regulations want us to multiply that by 1.6. So for the purposes of the Fireplace Registry, you do not have to register if your income is below $48,841 in Vancouver. Now, just be sure to have your tax returns handy if you plan on using your fireplace. For socialists, forcing people to go through these bureaucratic mazes is what they consider compassionate. While many Canadians are boycotting U.S. goods and services, the CBC is busy buying news from an American wire service, the Associated Press. A recent story CBC spent your tax dollars on to buy, and the Associated Press was an article about a new study describing how to better nudge U.S. citizens into taking actions to reduce carbon emissions. The study ranked 21 different actions by both the level of carbon emissions and the action can reduce and the ease of taking the action. The action they ranked highest was not adopting a dog. The study's authors claim that since dog food often contains beef, and because Brazilian cattle ranchers burn down the Amazon, beef is bad. Also, bovine burps. Of course, when buying U.S. news stories, the CBC really should fact-check the accuracy. For example, the top-selling Canadian dog foods don't contain beef. The dog foods that do have beef are made with Canadian beef, not Brazilian. More good news. Canada's innovative beef farmers are adopting new types of feed which reduce the methane emissions in bovine burps. So, please ignore the fear-mongering CBC. Your dog is not a climate criminal. Now, a little advice to whoever at CBC made the decision to purchase this article: read the study first. Had CBC bothered to read the actual study, they might have made sure to report the whole truth. The goal of the study was to learn how to effectively nudge people to take better individual actions to reduce their emissions. But what the researchers found was the better they were at nudging people to take individual actions, the less willing those people were to take collective actions. Climate change is the ultimate collective action problem. That these climate sociologists stumbled into finding a way to reduce collective action is like scoring in your own net. Unlike the CBC buying up American news stories in a total violation of its mandate, the 100% Canadian-owned news outlet Blacklock's Reporter only reports on Canada's government. One story they unearthed this week reveals the Liberals' plan to amend the Income Tax Act to give CRA more power. These powers include the ability to force citizens to swear an oath during an audit and issue $50 a day fines for non-compliance. CRA wants you to believe its failure to collect taxes owed to the government is because Canadians are liars and cheats. Except that's not true. Here's what Blacklock's reported, quote, "The department mistakenly attributed the $50 penalties to an implied recommendation in an Auditor General's report 7 years ago. The 2018 report of the Office of the Auditor General noted the provision of information by some taxpayers lagged for months or even years, making it more difficult for the Canada Revenue Agency to collect taxes owing," it said. The 2018 audit compliance activities, in fact, faulted the Revenue Agency for differing treatment of similar tax files depending on which regional office processed the paperwork. It treated taxpayers in similar ways. It treated taxpayers in similar situations in different ways, wrote the auditors. In one example, reviews of corporations' tax returns took an average of 279 days in one province and 425 days in another, end quote. The Liberals want to fine Canadians and force them to swear an oath to a tax auditor because CRA treats Canadians differently depending on the quality of the local CRA staff. Maybe we need a registry for Liberals experiencing low intelligence. Live from Ottawa, this is Cheryl Gallant.